All right, welcome back to Out of the Rut. I'm your boy X. Today I'm flying solo, but I have a very special guy on the call with me today. I have Scott Breitbarth. Say what up, Scott.
What up, Scott?
Of course. Sorry. Scott,
I couldn't help it, man.
don't be sorry at all. I love it. So Scott and I have a long history together. We've actually known each other for a super long time at this point.
Jesus.
Yeah, I know. We have
like half our lives.
I know. Honestly, I might have known you for more than half my life at this point because I'm a couple years younger. I know it's crazy, dude. It's crazy, but I'm sure we'll deep dive into how we know each other. But Scott just, has a really cool job. He's a full-time director and editor. He works with a sports commentator. What was the name again of the sports commentator you work with?
Yeah, his name is Michael McKelvey.
Yes,
he works on YouTube. Starts as like this sort of stocks and stats kind of guy, and one of his sports videos blew up because it's actually a really interesting story. He basically was working for a Mariner wealth company, and the company got bought, and he pretty much said, okay, I can't do finance videos anymore because they won't let me do that. I'll just do one sports video. And they got like a million views, and he's like, holy shit, okay, I guess I'm doing this now.
He's like, I think I found where I'm spending most of my time.
Yeah, and he's a D2 basketball player. So he just said, you know what? I got some stuff to get off my chest. And honestly, like through all the stats and wondering why people get drafted, why certain folks succeed in sports and why others don't. He's kind of doing his own little therapy, just figuring out why he didn't take off and finding his peace with that. And it's kind of interesting how this podcast is about too. So
heck yeah, man. Yeah. I mean, finding catharsis in our everyday lives, it turns out it's something that we're all deep down really just trying to find and achieve. But on top of that, you also have an award, a critically acclaimed award-winning pilot that we'll definitely go into as well. So a lot of big stuff to talk about. So, thank you for jumping on, man.
Yeah, man. Dude, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited. I haven't done a podcast in a really long time. So
we'll brush the cobwebs off and we'll have a great time, man. So first thing I always like to start with all of our guests when they come on the pod, ruts, being in ruts. What are some experiences you have with ruts and being in them?
Yeah, I think ruts have just been a part of my everyday life as an artist, and one that, as somebody who's actually found a way to express themselves in public with the arts, I feel like we always hide behind something as theater kids, just being able to be on stage, knowing that we are in control of something, and that kind of translates into the products we pick, who we hang out with. It's how you and I met doing a show over in Silverdale back in 2010.
Dude, I know. What a throwback, State. Dude. What a throwback.
Same. It's kind of funny. You talk about that, man, because you played a character that they actually turned into like a completely different ethnicity.
Yeah, they had to create. So long story short, it's like 2009, 2010. Yeah. Scott and I are both from the same kind of small town area, different towns, but same county type vibes. And I met Scott doing community theater in our small town of Silverdale, Washington. Shout out to C-Stock, RIP to C-Stock. No, it's not existent anymore, but hey, RIP.
OC pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much. But yeah, so we met doing that, and it was a production of Fame the Musical, which if you're not familiar is almost beat for beat like the movie, just instead they change some characters up or the names of certain characters and obviously add different music, but it's essentially the same story just in a musical form. But because Scott and I are from such a small town, the character that was written typically for a black artist, we're from a primarily white area of the country. So there wasn't,
whiter than Wonder Bread.
Seriously. So, I was like the only like Latin American person who auditioned for this show. And with like, I wouldn't even say a lot of dance ability. I like hindsight's 2020, but like, it was like, okay, cool. You could step touch on beat. They were like, good enough, bro. They're like, so I ended up playing. I ended up playing the character that I think in the show, the character's name is Leroy. But I ended up playing that version of the character in the production. But because it was written for a black character, and I'm obviously not black, they had me like change the lyrics to stuff to be in Spanish, and changed all of the references in there to be more like Latin friendly or Latin stereotypes versus black ones. And anyway, that's where I met my wife. That's where I met your soon to be wife. And I mean, here we are 15 years later, dude.
It's amazing how this all tightened back to that show. It's crazy. And I mean, that's ultimately what the show is about too. Going after your dreams and being all in. You're going to survive. Show the world that you can take it. And
exactly.
It's really a go-getter, tunnel vision kind of attitude that if you're just fighting through that, you just will suddenly turn around and be like, what the heck? Why was I doing this in the first place? Because of the music. You hear the song.
Exactly, man. And like, it's so funny because like, again, harking back to the very first part of this podcast, which we're only 5 minutes into, like it's chasing that dream and chasing that happiness that I feel like we were instilled with. And when we were kids through Disney movies, musicals, whatever, it was like, yeah, no matter what, don't settle for anything less than your dream. And somewhat like a lot of people take that to heart, and clearly we did, because here we are, still chasing the dream, man, still chasing it. But yeah, that's how Scott and I met. And anything else about Ruts before we move on to some of the questions?
Well, yeah, I mean, that was kind of like, I think it was like the beginning of my life where I wasn't really thinking about Ruts. I think the biggest rut I had at that moment was that I definitely had the talent, but you remember me what I was like in 2010, man. I had little to no friends. I was just so cocky. And I couldn't blame myself. I was about 40 pounds lighter. I could actually move. I was clearly the male dancer of the cast.
For sure. Hands down, dude. again, with time comes not wisdom, I think, because again, hindsight's 2020, dude. I think about that show and I was like, yeah, I was a pretty good dancer, but then I'm like, yo, dude, not even. But like for like, small town,
that was like my peak.
Yeah, dude.
Totally small town. Like, oh my God. And I think that came to bite me in the ass when I finally went to college. And I was just like, you know what? There is like a wall of something that I missed. I was so focused on getting good. I was so focused on my art. I was so focused on the arts that they never told me or taught me that was really the most important thing when you're actually trying to get anywhere in the world. And that's, you got to know people. You got to put people first. You got to be able to read them. You got to be able to know how to work with them and how to adjust yourself. If you have an opportunity that comes up and you need to be able to meet someone else's expectations, the way that they work, their style, especially a boss who's been doing this so much longer than you, because it's all about relationships. You have to be loved. You have to be liked. They got to say, okay, this person gets it. And, or even if they don't, they are willing to put in the work to do that. And if you're just somebody who was like, dude, I'm talented. Like, why aren't you using me? It's an instant turnoff, ironically. Like, you don't answer the question with a question. You had to have the answers, and I didn't have any answers. And I think that's one of the biggest reasons why I kind of came home after school. I had one opportunity that was presented to me. I did a Marvel deconstruction class, case study class with Guardians of the Galaxy.
Sure.
And it was USC, big film school. They invited a shit ton of people from that movie to come out and talk. So we got to meet James Gunn. We got to meet Kevin Feige. We got to meet the most important person in this, Victoria Alonso, who's no longer with Marvel, but she was like one of the big executive producers. I think she was the head of post-production. But I reached out to her because she gave her email out to everybody in the class. Apparently I was the only person who said, hey, thanks for coming. It was great to meet you. Everyone else was like, there's no way I'm getting anything. And she actually reached out to me about a week later and said, I'm looking for a sound production assistant. And I was like, crap. Okay. So what did I do? But I reached out to my mom, who is apparently the genius, as all our mothers are, the
always.
career mothers.
Shout out to moms.
And of course, what did she say? She didn't say go for it. She said, you need to finish school first.
Oh,
so
I won't lie. I was not expecting that turn. That was a plot twist for me.
Yeah. Honestly, if I had taken that assistant job, I probably would have been in LA. I would not have come back to Washington State. I might have even been pushing back a semester at USC just so that I could do that. The movie was going to be Age of Ultron. It was 2015.
Oh, dang.
So I was this close. And again, because I didn't have the people smarts to know what was best for me and how to handle this. And honestly, it was really one of my first experiences flat out getting offered something like that. I didn't have any major internships.
Yeah.
I didn't have a lot of outside class interaction with my professors, like that was it. And when I pushed that around to a friend of mine, a classmate of mine, that was just like, okay, I don't have anything. I have to come back to Washington, come back to small town world. And
yeah.
I think and small town, I think in short is the biggest rut that I've ever been in.
Yeah.
Like, and maybe not as big as it was as it is today, like as small as it is today, because people can connect much easier. But
very true.
Honestly, like when the industry is dependent on you being there, to not be there, you're already putting yourself at a losing disadvantage. And you're basically saying, okay, I'm going out on my own. I'm not going the traditional route. I'm literally finding my own way.
Yeah.
It's a bit more legal blonde than it is fame.
No, it's so true. And like, it's something that I can really relate to, again, being from the same small town as you, like when you come from a small town like that, and like, this is nothing against people who like living in small towns, but when you live in a small town and you have aspirations that are sort of beyond what you feel like that small town is capable of giving you, it feels, especially growing up in that, it feels like the world is ending every single day. Like it feels like it's 100%. Like what the f am I what the frick am I doing? Like all of the time.
Because people don't want to do anything. They're like, I'm here to settle. In our place, in our town, it was like we work for the Navy or we work for Microsoft.
Those are like that's it.
Everything else is just per chance. Go reach out to a community theater if you want to do theater. Try to find a film person if you can at SIF, but that's about it.
Yeah, and if those two things didn't speak to you, again, it's like you live in that constant state of kind of a rut. You kind of live just constantly in a rut of like feeling like you need something more than that. And I hope that doesn't sound too egotistical, because it's not like an ego thing. Like I think I'm better than this, but it's like it's just like you want more than this though. It's just what you want, And whether life agrees and flies with that is a whole different thing.
Yeah, and I think that's the hard thing too, because coming back from getting my ego slammed, it's hard to believe in yourself when you're still associating believing in yourself with ego, when they are actually two different things, and you don't learn that until you meet incredibly egotistical people that don't believe in themselves.
Yeah.
All right. Sometimes it's meeting that's you. Sometimes it's someone you run into as a client or a friend or a colleague. But yeah, it's hard.
No, for sure. But let's start with the early days of when you first figured out you were really into directing, into editing and things like that. Like do you have like a nexus moment for you where it was like, okay, cool, I did this thing once and I'm really into it and I want to keep doing it?
Yeah, 100%. So, I mean, I grew up as a dancer. I started tapping when I was like 5 years old. My mom raised me on Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers movies when I was at home in Chicago. And then when we moved to Paulsbo, I was like, Mom, I actually want to do this. And I started going to a local dance center, Bainbridge Dance Center, and bit by bit, that was my thing. Just doing ballet in general kind of isolated me from a lot of people, especially since it was out of the town that I was going to school in.
Yeah.
I think from an early on age, that just kind of made me feel like I was different because I was generally alone most of my life. But that all changed when I started doing musical theater. When I started doing Kitsap Jones Musical Theater, KCMT. Hey. About 2 years into doing that, they decided that they wanted to do West Side Story. And again, this is Paulsbo, white bread town. They did the whole, we're going to dye half our kids tan and give them black hair just to make them look like sharks.
Dude, yeah.
You could not do that today.
I mean, you really like it was, it's just, that's just small town vibes, man. Small towns do what they got to do to integrate art into their communities. And I feel for that. I definitely feel for that.
100%. So I auditioned, I got Riff. And then I also asked the founder of the organization, Kirby, if I could choreograph it. And I actually got to choreograph the show. And I think that was around when I was like, okay, this is super fun. I get to actually work with people. They generally can't say no to me, which is, you don't have any social skills, what you're generally afraid of. Like,
yeah, it's like built-in friendship for sure.
Exactly. Affirmed friendship, quote unquote.
How old were you at this point?
I was about 16 years old.
Yeah. So, I mean, 16 choreographing a show, again, even for a small town, that's a big responsibility for a 16-year-old.
Oh, it is. And all the parents, they were going directly over my head for everything. And I had to get used to that, unfortunately.
Sure.
But it was an incredible experience. I remember having to watch that movie over and over again. That was pretty much when I said, okay, the musical is fantastic, but when you see what you can do with a camera angle, when you see what you can do with editing and changing up the music, I think in the back of my head, I said, okay, this is how you enhance things. This is how we went from doing things on the stage to doing things on camera, and I want to do things on camera. So I talked to my mom in June. I think it was like 2009. I said, okay, I think I want to go to film school. It's almost my junior year. It's that time. And we shot as high as we could. And I was really lucky. I got into the school, and honestly, it was West Side Story that was kind of like my foundation project for talking about my creative experience. And I was probably the only male choreographer that was trying to get into film school, like primarily arts, musical theater. Like most of the people trying to get into film school are like, I like shooting pretty things.
Yeah.
Or I love this indie movie, or I love this Woody Allen movie. Can't really say that anymore. And that's why they got in. But and this is coming from an honest standpoint. At that point in time, just objectively, I think I was probably the most diversely talented kid in my class at the time.
Sure.
But it's like Madden. All my points went into talent. They didn't go into compassion. It didn't go into social skills. It didn't go into anything that probably would have given me any sort of leg up in the most basic of ways. And that's probably, again, why it took me so long to finally get to where I am right now, just from a small stepping stone standpoint.
I mean, it's definitely something that they don't talk about growing up, that the importance of networking, really will make or break your career at some point or another. Even if your talent gets you in the door, you're going to have to network eventually and just like be able to like effectively like build relationships with people. Even people you don't necessarily agree with or like, you have to have some level of like, okay, even if I can't stand this person, I'm able to diplomatically work with this person in a way that's constructive. And that's a freaking skill in its own right. Like you don't wake up just being good at that.
100%. And again, that's why they don't say, especially in the arts, it's a big reason why nepotism is such a thing, because that barrier is already crossed over. Whether you like the person or not, they're family. And at that point, it's literally just up to you as if you want to do the work or not, because you have the opportunity, especially if you're better off, to just put all your time into doing what I was pretty much doing at the time without any connections, without any social skills. So I was stunted on that side. I was delayed. I was a late bloomer.
But we came around eventually. So looking back, I know it's been a handful of years since you were in the college audition process. In terms of getting into film school, like what did that process look like for you? And do you know if that's still pretty similar to how things are done today, or has things essentially evolved drastically with technology as far as you know?
I think the expectations for film school have either the talent pool has gotten much bigger, or the amount of quality you can put into work has gotten much bigger. I think it's so much easier for people to know how to frame a shot now because they've had one on their phones.
Sure. God, you're right. When we were doing the audition thing, like, I don't know about you, but right. I didn't have a smartphone until like my second year of college.
It was my third year. Exactly.
Yeah. So like we weren't shooting shit on our iPhones and whatever. Like you actually had a camera.
I had an old camcorder, and I didn't get my first phone until I was like 18 years old. But yeah, I think the overall film school process, I think it's probably gotten a bit more streamlined, just to find the people who actually are good with the medium of film and not the technical basics. Like if you think about the average kid in 2010, they probably saw a lot of movies. They didn't have a lot of hands-on video experience because you were probably using tape. Digital cameras were expensive. they had just transitioned to digital at USC. I think just 3 years before I actually went there. George Lucas said, we're not doing film anymore. We're doing digital Sony cameras. I'll buy them. I'm George Lucas. But yeah, I think now that we live in a very media-driven world, it is much more about who the person is, the authenticity, what kind of stories they want to tell, what films they know. And probably for a lot of these kids who are so used to the ADD, click, 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 super fast-paced kind of media, learning how to slow down and let things take their time and try to be really lifelike with what they're doing. And it's probably the direction that TV has taken the most.
Got it.
Which is probably why TV is much better than film nowadays. I personally think, as an overall network medium, like the best TV shows have a lot more thought and effort put into the story than most movies do, most mainstream movies.
Which is funny because that definitely did not always be the case. Like, I do think that streaming services and the accessibility of content nowadays has definitely made television more of a robust art form than film has evolved with. Yeah. You have so much longer now to tell a story through the medium of a television show versus the 2 hours, 3 hours if you're being really pushing the bug to tell a story. It's like you could tell just a much more effective story over a 12 episode arc with each episode being an hour, or something.
Well,
like that.
Right. And that's why everyone's like, okay, if I'm a storyteller, I have to do TV. It used to be like, I'd go out there, make my hour-and-a-half movie. Hopefully I have enough tape and that'll be that. Christopher Nolan, he made his movie over the course of a year, his first one, less weekends for 52 weeks, just making a film. And that's because you had to get the money for tape and you had to have the time for it. Now it's like, I can just shoot anything anywhere. Like my secret to success is now this, to the point where you now have a lot of people out there trying to give you like little shortcuts to getting the movie look, out of focus footage, which your iPhone camera can't do. I think if I was a film student today, or if I was trying to get into film school, I would probably take a step back and say, okay, am I getting an experience that I can get anywhere else? Or when I go to this film school, am I getting a network?
Yeah.
Because that is ultimately the deciding factor, especially for those kids who are probably a lot like me, that had a lot of talent, but didn't know the people. There's a chance at least that you make a relationship with somebody in the school, whether that's a classmate or a professor or someone you meet through the school, and that elevates you that way. But I think in terms of the overall talents, it's very Ratatouille-esque, but I think a good filmmaker can come from anywhere. Sure. A good storyteller can come from anywhere, because we're already doing that across the entire world on our phones.
No,
it's just a matter of a day.
No, it's really true. And I think the real question really, or at least the reality is, anybody could anybody could make the mundane into something really interesting if they tell a good story out of it. Like, if they just know how to tell a story, the most simplest of things about your day can turn into really extravagant moments and really cool and exciting things to listen to. And that's why I ultimately agree with you too. Like, art and creativity can really manifest itself in the most unlikeliest of places. No, but that's cool. So let's get into the college years now. We'll just keep going through time. But talk to us about the college years. Talk about classes you took, things you learned, things like that.
Yeah. So I think, the best thing I got out of college, I think, was actually my critical studies classes. That's literally where you sit in a theater, they talk about something artistic, the art of acting, live sound, the importance of working with your mise-en-scène. And then after an hour lecture, you just get to watch a movie in the theater, with the full Dolby sound. It isn't watching on a projector in a classroom. And I think it was the best teacher, just watching all these different films from across the world, across time. That had more of an impact on me, I think, than most of my other working relationships. I still think my favorite class was probably my intermediate film class, where I had an amazing partner, Ben Chance. Basically, at that point in the process, your first production class has already happened the previous semester. You've had a chance to get your hands on the camera and make 5 to 6 shorts, little practice sessions. You get a chance to work on a big project with a bunch of kids at the end of the semester. but this is actually where you get to make something that's more like a thesis, like who you are, what your movie is, who you are as a filmmaker. And basically you direct, write, and do the sound editing for your project, and your partner shoots it and does the editing for you. And then you switch.
Oh, cool.
So at the time, it was 2 people. I think shortly after I graduated, they turned it into a 3-person project where you had to get a film out a month. It was just nuts. Trying to get more production kids in there. But
sure.
Yeah. I think I was at my most vulnerable, I think, in school. And I wrote this story about a ballerina who gets in a partnering accident and basically has her back cracked open.
Damn.
And it's all about her. It's all about her returning to dance and trying to learn how to trust her partner again before her next show. You don't see the show. You never get to that point. It is literally about trust and finding joy in in life and overcoming the thing that held you back. It's about overcoming fear.
Cool.
And I like to think that that's the kind of person I am, that just always overcomes fear. Maybe it's the person I always wanted to be, but
yeah,
it definitely was the best film that I made. And it was the first time, I think, where after kind of floating in and out, most of my colleagues did not particularly like me. I think I had a small town attitude.
Sure.
That affected my politics in some ways as well. I think they had assumptions about, what kind of movie I would want to make. But for me to come out with something that was very vulnerable and simple and soft-spoken, I think it shocked a lot of them. And it actually allowed people to say, oh, he's not a dick. He just doesn't know how to compose himself.
No, but like all art is, there's always an element of yourself in every art piece that you make. And regardless of what exactly you're watching beat for beat, like you get it. They're like eyes. It's a window into someone's true self. And in this case, I'm glad your true self was able to like reveal itself through that medium, and people were able to kind of at least get a little bit of a glimpse into your world a little bit. Cause honestly, 9 times out of 10, like those types of relationships that are skewed like that, I find more often than not is just a communication thing. Like how one person communicates and how another person receives that is always going to be wildly different. And you have to, growing up, I feel like is just developing a language that is universally understood, or at least trying to create a language that's universally understood with your feelings and shit.
Exactly. And I feel like it's probably one of the biggest things that the industry suffers from the most right now, is that everything feels less personal and it feels more like a product.
Yeah.
Even if what they're going for in the broad view is something that is for the greater good, representation, different points of view, by making a product that includes everybody and incorporates everybody and is made for as big an audience as possible. Like, it's all done so that you can have the biggest audience as possible.
Yeah, that's the motivation.
We know that going into the movie, and that's not why people should go see movies. They should go see a piece of art because they want to leave a different person than when they went in. Either they learned something, or they were able to relax, or they're able to overcome something personal. It's therapeutic. I think nowadays most movies that come out are either directly towards one side of the aisle, where they're only therapeutic for the filmmaker. Like, I had some things to say. I don't care if you like it. It just happens to be a Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
And then you go to the other side. And it's like, we don't really care what you think. We just got to get this out because we want to keep the IP for another 5 years.
Yeah. And that feeling is just becoming way more apparent. Like the more medium that comes out, it really does. Like it's getting harder. It's getting harder to forget that that's what some of this medium is about at this point, especially with some of those bigger properties nowadays, like some of your Marvels, like some of your Star Wars. It is starting to feel just like regurgitating content versus like, okay, cool. Do we have a really meaningful story to tell? And is that what's going to connect with people? And how do we create something around that versus just pumping out money for tickets and stuff?
Exactly. And just knowing if you are making something that is from a particular universe, make it for the fandom. Don't make it for the general.
Yeah.
Like, the fans will come. You got to make fans.
It's also like you have to think. Well, you also have to think about the quality of fan that you're getting to join in on this. Like, if you're making it for the sake of garnishing new fans, you're going to get a lot. You're going to get a very divisive fan base that feels very gatekeepy on one side, while at the same time the other one's just kind of jumping on a pop culture trend. Where if you develop like a really robust story, you might not get as many new fans as quickly, but like the ones you'll get are a better quality, and they mesh amongst the vast majority of your fan base you've established already. And I think that just creates a longer, like an individual's relationship with that medium lasting longer. Because
absolutely, because you're caring about what you're doing, and you're not feeling the pressure of a deadline. You're not trying to check any sort of boxes, whether they be corporate or personal or anything like that. You're like, this is the story and this is my job. And it's 100% into it.
Heck yeah,
and
man.
I feel like, that's what a filmmaker is.
Hey, so living in the college years, Scott, for a while. Is there anything? Yeah. Is there any like skill set that you came into college with that you felt like either really benefited your experience or made things easier or made things more challenging? And then kind of in the opposite, is there anything you had no idea about that you were like, okay, thank God college helped me figure this out, or whether it be from the back end or from a storytelling perspective?
Ooh, that is a good question, man. Well, geez, let me think here. I think that the biggest thing that benefited me going into school was that I had already had a chance to try as many different things as possible. I think generally if you explore different sides of yourself artistically, you're probably going to have a better handle on learning something quickly in a different medium. Like, I had no idea how to hip hop dance.
Yeah.
But, I did tap, I did ballet growing up, I did jazz, and that translated over pretty well into learning just another way to move yourself. Even though you had to break some rules and some old mindsets, but it just overall makes you better, Yeah. And I think that definitely helped me on the film side of things, because there's a lot of elements you get to play with every single element. It just makes something that works together. So again, on the technical side, on the talent side, it was great. It always comes back to people. I think that if schools did a better job if my schools and my teachers did a better job of preparing me for people, just meeting big folks, my professors, their guests, getting a chance to actually work and socialize with everybody that was my age and above, like, that would have been great. But it kind of is pick your poison, I think, growing up. And you don't really get taught that, especially if you're a handful. And I know I was definitely an ADD kid. Like, I went to dance to have fun. I went to dance to go off and explode and be a boy.
Yeah. Well, all of our friends were like running in the woods and stuff. Scott and I were in the dance studio, dude.
Yeah.
That's where we were.
And that was our win. Yeah. The trees were the girls who were like, what the heck is wrong with you? And honestly, there was definitely a very uppity, I don't want to say Swedish vibe, because that goes against our such special people, but there definitely was like a don't interact, don't touch me, don't, why are you talking to me? Like, I'm not here to socialize, I'm here to dance. Yeah, no, kind of vibe. For sure. We definitely were like seriously into it. Which again, like, you know, it all comes full circle. I'll be honest, of all the things I felt like I learned as a kid, I feel like knowing how to dance, or just like knowing how to fundamentally dance, has come up in my actual adult life so many times. Whereas like anything else I learned, I feel like in school maybe has come up once. Like, I've never had to solve Pythagorean's theorem a single time, but or figure out what a mitochondria does. Exactly. But Lord knows I've had to teach so many people how to do like a box step or like a basic Roomba. You know what I mean? Like that has come up so many times. And it's something I always tell kids, like whenever I work with kids, because sometimes I'll help various ballroom studios. They do like outreach to like high schools and stuff. And sometimes I'll go and I'll teach them. And I usually start off by saying, boys, this is the most important day of your life. You do not have to be a professional dancer ever, but remember just these handful of skills, bro. These are going to come up so many times in your adult life. Absolutely. And I'll be honest, like ballroom was a big part of me just learning how to interact with people. Yeah. Because it's a safe setting. Again, like you can't fail as long as you do this. And I just wish so hard that was just a part of something in school somehow, some way. But no, you're there to learn as many presidents as possible or as many equations as possible.
Which, by the way, do not quiz me on. Do not embarrass me like that on here, Scott. do not ask me any of that, dude. I will fumble fail and everything.
I'm a huge wrestling fan. If you want to talk about Royal Rumble winners, I can do that, but don't ask me about my U.S. presidents.
Nah, man, I'm gonna have to pass on that question. So post college, all right. So you graduated. You have your degree in directing. What's next in Scott's journey?
Yeah, Scott was looking for directing opportunities, and I had a friend at the time. His name was Cameron, and we basically got together during the spring of my senior year, and we said, let's just try to make a movie. Let's have some fun. I have some great ideas. And we probably had like 3 or 4 different attempts, and we finally just never talked to each other again in like 2018. But while all that was happening, I'm like, okay, should I get a normal job? Should I do something regularly? And my mom was like, no, you should only do things that are related to your field, which is a bold direction. Like, yeah,
it's definitely
you should be getting your 10,000 hours in. Yes. But would you rather have 10,000 hours of experience in a field or 10,000 hours worth of wage in your bank account?
I mean, that is the inevitable debate, brother. That is the inevitable debate.
100%, man. Yeah. So what I ended up doing was I basically went back to community theater, which was what I was doing before I went to school. I choreographed for a local high school a few times. I was assistant director for one of their shows as well. And actually, I did a production of Godspell at KCMT. It was like an alumni production in 2014. I did like a promo video for them, and they wanted me to continue to do their commercials after that. And I sort of became like the promo guy for like Kitsap Theater for about 4 or 5 years. And that actually led me to a little bit of steady work with some Seattle organizations. Like I did the commercial for Disney's Little Mermaid when they came to Fifth Avenue Theater. I worked with Seattle Men's Chorus for like 5 or 6 years doing their commercials, and actually during the pandemic doing their concerts online, just lining up 88 people and getting them all in sync and then animating cool shit around them. Like that was a job.
I mean, that sounds cool as hell. Like again,
a lot of fun, man.
Again, dude, never discredit the small scale stuff, man. Cause again, from that comes other opportunities. Clearly in your case too. Damn.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's kind of what happened with the theater side of things too. I actually ended up getting a job with Bainbridge Ballet, and I became their tap teacher. Still was not like, in the best of shape, but I was teaching, I was working with kids, and kind of came over a lot of my barriers, I think, just working with teenagers, because teenagers will let you know if you're a good teacher or not.
Yeah, the stakes are not high for them. They will tell you if you suck. They'll tell you if you're great.
They'll tear you down.
And most of the time you suck. And most of the time you suck. Like
exactly. And they don't have the guts to say it, they'll just leave. And you'll be like, huh, all right. Mm-hmm. What did I do? And that's kind of because you take it so personally. You're like, I'm showing you what I've cultivated over tens of years, and you just up and quit on me. What did I do? Yeah. And just had to drill that. So I started working for this dance company, and I ended up directing their Nutcracker. Not like being like the producer overall. That was still like the artistic director of the company, but I was like the creative director for the production for like 3 or 4 years. I did like a World War I Nutcracker in 2019. During the pandemic, we did a full Nutcracker movie. We bought a green screen stage and like put it inside the studio, and we shot on a green screen, and we pumped it out just as Christmas came around. And yeah, I guess technically that was my feature film debut, but it was like an hour and a half, 40-minute movie that was pretty much just a modern COVID Nutcracker, where we even put like the COVID theme into the first act. Like, like the opening act of Nutcracker is always a party scene. This was a COVID party where you have everybody in masks because we had to be number one, And we had the whole 6 feet joke that was always happening between the older people and the younger people. Like, stay away from me. Don't touch me. You might have COVID.
Yeah.
Like, Grandpa, if I have COVID, you're already dead because I've been in the same vicinity for like 2 hours.
Yeah, you're outie, bro. Like,
yeah.
time to wrap it up.
And then it was a lot of fun. And it actually turned into like this sort of Tron universe Nutcracker where Claire gets sucked into a computer world and everything happens in this universe with her brother and the Nutcracker and all that. It was a lot of fun. Yeah, that was pretty much what happened. I just started directing ballets. I directed like 7 or 8 ballets with this company. And I think around 2021, when the pandemic was finally shifting, is where I finally hit my rock and I started to get to like the actual place that I needed to be to actually live. I had been an artist, living on artist wages for about 6 years. I had a couple corporate jobs here and there. I've been working with these major organizations. I was not making enough money.
Yeah.
I was probably making about tops, maybe about $1,500 a month.
Yeah.
My rent was about $900.
That ain't nothing.
That ain't shit. Nothing is more humbling. Also, when you come out of high school with as big as an ego as I did, after going to the top film school in the world and coming back home, nothing makes you hit rock bottom more than looking online and seeing like the kids that had jobs waiting for them after school because they had the people skills, they did the work, they had the nepotism helping them.
Yeah.
You know, they have at least something to show off, or they're finally getting their break, making a film that's the People's Choice film at Sundance. And you're stuck back where you grew up with little to no money and everything is coming to a head. And I just said, you know what? I can't do this anymore. So I quit the studio. And right there is where everything went to shit. I was living in a house at the time with 3 other people, just getting along completely fine with them. One of them just started breaking down and I got threatened. I won't go into detail because this person is getting their life together and they're in a much better place now.
Hey, shout out to Progress. Shout out to Progress.
Yeah, I had to get out of that place. So yeah. I left. So I wasn't living anywhere. It was actually around the time that my girlfriend at the time for 8 years, who's now my future wife, we actually broke up. Yep, we actually broke up. So I lost her. And then not only was I not working with the dance studio, but I also lost the part-time corporate gig that I was doing from home, like COVID pandemic jobs.
Sure. So yeah. All the work from home jobs that popped up.
Exactly. I literally had nothing. I was living with my dad and his wife, and I had no job. I had no girlfriend. I had no place to live. I was literally starting from ground zero.
You're like, ain't got no job, ain't got no girlfriend, dude, ain't got my own place.
Dude.
I'm waiting. When do you pull the shit out of this? When do you pull a 180? Rising from 100%. The ashes like a phoenix, brother. When does that come in?
So apparently it happens within a year. So the first thing that happened is that I just ate humble pie and I went to my younger brothers and I said, guys, I need your help. Dad didn't teach me this. Mom didn't teach me this. I need you to teach me how to fill out a resume.
Your boy needs some 101 help, bro. Man.
Exactly. So I went ahead and did that. Within 2 job applications, I got reached out to by this marketing company, and I started doing these real estate ads, these real estate reels that I did for about 2 or 3 years for them, and then with somebody else when I left them. That got me off the ground, and I was actually finally making like 3 to 4 times more money than I ever had in my life. And I was like, what the hell is going on? This should not be happening to me. Could I have been living like this before? And I was like, just don't question it. Just do whatever they say, humble pie, do whatever they want you to do. And that's pretty much how I was able to get out and actually live in Seattle. But the big creative break came through this local 10-minute play festival that I was working with for the second time that year. So basically the way it works is it's a local Bainbridge Island Film Festival. Bainbridge, hello. 10 plays given by 10 local playwrights, and then 10 directors in the community get to select their top 3 plays and then go out and direct the play when the show's like in a month. And, just something, little fun local activity. I had a chance to take my number one play. You basically get to say what your top three are. I could have gone with my number one, but this Bainbridge local who never directed before really, really, really wants to do that play. I said, okay, fine. I'll do my second option. So I met with the writer of that, who happened to be a car dealer named Dan Rosenberg. And we sat down and started talking. He said, I'm a comedian. I've been doing stuff on the island around Seattle for like 10, 15 years. I also have a sitcom pilot that I wrote. I've been trying to get off the ground for a long time. I have the money. I just need to find the right people. And I said, okay, well, I'm going to do the flex that everyone tells me you should freaking do when you go to USC. I went to USC Film School. Like, I would love to direct your pilot. Let's talk more about it. So he kind of explained it to me. It was about this kid who has a dad who's a rock star, and he wrote it in the 90s where, The Simpsons was really popular, Family Guy was still coming out, and he said, what if I reverse this concept where instead of the dad being fat, bald, and stupid, it's the son who's fat, bald, and stupid, and the dad is super hot, steals all the son's girlfriends, and it's just a total riot. And basically, imagine if Peter Boyle from Everybody Loves Ray, same character, but he was freaking hot. And then that was pretty much the original concept. And he had to adapt it because, Me Too happened, and you can't really have an older guy who's a dick and tries to sleep with everybody anymore. That's not right. But the overall concept was still there. And he said, the dad's going to be played by Rick Springfield. I don't have him locked in. He knows I exist. It'd be great if we could get him. And I said, okay, Dan, I'm going to lowball you. Let's make this freaking TV pilot.
Let's do it.
A month and a half later, not only are we having our play go on stage, but we're actually shooting the pilot local downtown. And we started getting all these people on board because he was connected to this other guy named Barry Katz, who's a big, huge producer in the comedy world. Anybody who's in comedy knows who Barry Katz is. And he was able to get us Rick Springfield.
Oh, no shit.
Amazing.
Dude,
we actually got him in
to Jesse's
the pilot.
girl, man. Let's go.
Seriously, man. And our assistant director's name is Jesse. My mom's name is Jessica.
Dude, my mom's favorite song is Jesse's Girl, dude. Like, dude, I'll tell you right now, if I ever worked with Rick Springfield, my mom might just die on the spot.
Okay. Well, we're currently pitching to big studios right now, so I will keep you in mind.
Hey, the degree, Mom, if you're listening, the degrees of separation between me and Rick Springfield are not that much. Love me.
No, it's really two people between you and Rick Springfield right now.
Yeah, Mom.
Joking. One of them's your brother-in-law.
Yeah, Mom. Yeah. But that's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Keep going.
So yeah, that all happened within the course of a year. I went from having absolutely nothing to having a stable job to living in Seattle and directing a TV pilot starring Rick Springfield and some SNL cast members, like completely overnight. And honestly, it was all because I finally had the guts to say, I don't know something. And that something was so basic that anybody can freaking help me with, that by that point, I not only was able to support myself, but finally just being at the slot machine for 7 years in a tiny town finally paid off.
Heck yeah, brother. Greatness from humble beginnings. That's our boy, Scott.
Yeah. After getting humbled to death for about 9 years.
Hey, that's the grind, man. But congrats on that.
Thanks, man.
Heck yeah. So for someone who's just kind of getting into this for the first time, or maybe is listening to this and has no idea, like, what are some things outside of the networking perspective, like maybe more on like the tech side of things? Like, what do you suggest that someone get familiar with before really committing too hard into this field, establishing that they like?
You mean like if they want to be a director or if they want to be like a camera? There's many different positions.
Sure. Well, actually, you know what? Let's shift gears. Let's like what all experience behind the camera do you have outside of just directing?
Wow. Well, I would say my strongest set of skills is definitely editing. I mean, that's why I'm working with Michael right now, because I can edit something super quickly. I have all my animation skills from doing those commercials and the virtual concerts for SMC and all those guys. I would say if you are an editor and you have the patience to be an editor, you are guaranteed a job no matter where you live in this world.
Hell yeah.
Absolutely. If you want to be a director of people, you have to work with people. And honestly, I feel like just generally directing community theater and directing little kids from the ages of 4 to 18, and then for some productions like, adults as old as 75 with absolutely no experience, you learn so quickly that you have to be patient, and most importantly, that you have to trust them and just let them do what they are going to do. Because at the end of the day, you as a director, you basically control where the ship is going, but you can't take care of all the rigging. You can't be behind the wheel. You can't be cleaning everything up. Like, you just got to know that your people are your people, and you got to let them do their thing. And that's actually how I directed the pilot. Like, I came into that thing ego fractured, completely egoless. And I said, guys, I just want this thing to be as funny as possible. If you have an idea, just say it. If you want to try something different, just say it. And I'm not just talking to you cast members. I'm talking to like the PAs over in the back. Like, say something. And that made a huge impact. Just having a show, going from like the control freak I was in high school at KCMT doing West Side Story, to go into this super collaborative mindset of like, we are here to have fun and to make things funny, that I had a whole lot more success on the latter side. So on the technical side, definitely be an editor. If you want to do something that's actually like leading or creating a project, like 100% cooperative business skills. That'd be my huge advice for that part. Dude, being a director.
Hell yeah. So primarily directing and editing, or like, do you have any experience like with the camera, with lighting or things like that?
Oh yeah. I went from borrowing my mom's camcorder to, I think it's still in the back. I now have like a Red Epic and an RE Alexa Classic, which I think in 2010 probably cost about as much as a Cadillac Escalade. And now they're just like, old ancient tools from a bygone era.
Yes. The olden days, man. The olden days.
I will say, if you're a freelancer and you're trying to support yourself, and especially if you're trying to elevate your social media game, especially in this landscape where there's a lot more young people who are trying to get into things by social media. I mean, just learn how to shoot with a DSLR, learn what depth of field is, learn how to control your aperture, your shutter speed, definitely learn how to color. If you can learn how to color correct something, that is the difference between something looking like you just shot it and something that looks like you painted it on your computer.
Ooh,
like, definitely learn how to color correct. 100%.
Hey,
all those people who are photographers. Yeah.
Hey, all right. So that's sick. That's sick. Any of those that you had experience with, or did college help develop those skills, or did you kind of have to learn them on your own after the fact? Like, where did those skills come in for you?
Oh, I hate to say it, but I had to learn all that by myself. Like, I have a feeling that a lot of my professors at USC, incredible people, hardworking, definitely inside gurus to the industry, big hearts, want nothing more than for you to succeed. And honestly, maybe it's just my perspective because I never totally reached out to them on certain things, but I pretty much learned everything I know about editing and shooting and sound design, all of that, pretty much just by doing it myself.
Yeah.
Like, it is the best teacher. And that goes to my bigger point, which is that when you go to film school, you're getting a network. That's what you're buying with your tuition. You can get the education anywhere. The people who edited and animated Everything Everywhere All at Once, which won several Academy Awards, including Best Picture and Best Editing, Best Effects, they learn everything by watching YouTube.
I was just going to ask what resources you used to kind of learn those skills. And was it primarily YouTube? Were there any other resources that you can recall that was like, okay, that was really helpful? Just to give the listeners a sort of resource list of things they should look into.
Oh, absolutely. Film Riots is definitely a good channel to go and check out. If you have a particular camera, whether you got it because your mom bought it for you or because you actually went out and bought it because a friend said you should get it, just going online and looking at people who have that camera that are willing to either show you tutorials or show you what you can do with it. And not only, you'll not only get that knowledge, but also empowers you to go out and create something because you're like, oh my gosh, I have this tool. If somebody can make something with that on YouTube and this video is, maybe as old as 10 years old. Like, I can go out there and do this. You really are not your equipment. I have a $10,000 camera in my filing cabinet right back there that I hardly ever use because all my needs come from the Canon camera I bought 2 years ago for about a quarter of that.
Damn.
The technology has come so far, and the gatekeeping to have the right kind of equipment to have the Netflix approved camera is crumbling because they want content, because they don't want to have the production.
I was just going to say the need to pump out content, I'm sure, has kind of overwhelmed that need a little bit.
Oh, absolutely. I don't know how much you know, but like 1 in 5 productions that are greenlit in LA are being made in LA. The other 4 are being made elsewhere, or they've already been made. Like, that's one of the big things that we're figuring out trying to get this show greenlit, which is that the people who are getting yeses, they've already made the show. There are whole TV series at Sundance they're getting picked up by Netflix or Amazon or Apple, and then they get their second or third season funded because they already have the crew, they already have the proof of concept, they've already know each other. They don't, and the studio's like, I don't have to hire a production house. Like, they already got their shit together.
Yeah, they already have the whole product ready to go.
Exactly. I'm basically hiring these freelancers to do what they were already doing.
That's insane. I had wondered about that. I'd wondered because, just again, knowing how easy and how much technology we have at our fingertips, how much of what we get pushed through streaming services is already finished content versus some of those Netflix originals or whatever. I'm like, how many of these were already made beforehand before you just slapped your name on it?
100%. And there are shows that have been in the making or in development for years. Like, what's the big show with what's the big Apple show that came out recently about the I think it's called Severance?
Yeah, Severance. I've never watched it, but I am familiar with Severance.
Like, I think most of that show was already shot at least 2 years before they finally put it out.
No shit.
And was probably in writing or development for 2 years prior to that. There's so much red tape and so much process that now goes through the studio when you're working with them and trying to get your show made, that it's almost faster just to go out and do it yourself. And that's the other thing too.
Yeah.
If there's anything we've learned from social media is that you can not only make whole videos in weeks, you can become a freaking superstar in years. Just instead of having to wait your turn.
Yeah, you can skip the line and just start pushing stuff out.
100%. And it's kind of broken the Hollywood dream. You used to have to go to LA if you wanted to be somebody. Now you don't.
Yeah.
Now you don't have to live in LA either, which is why everyone's leaving.
I mean,
now you don't have to live in New York.
Seriously though, you can do it from anywhere and learn it from anywhere now. But my next question, I like to ask this question because as you know, and I'm sure I've mentioned ad nauseum, I'm a college skeptic. I'm a college dropout. Things like that. Pretty much have always been a little skeptical of the education system. I think I kind of know the answer a little bit, but do you feel like in order for someone to kind of get into this field that you are, do you think a college degree is necessary or required? Or do you think that with the resources that are out there, if someone has a certain set of skills kind of naturally, they can find a spot in the film world somewhere?
Man, it is a loaded question, because the moment you say that you don't support your school, that's the moment where they're like, that's it. You don't get any more invites. You don't get to speak at graduation when you finally make it. No, we don't want you anymore.
It definitely is a tough question. And I definitely understand people's hesitancy in answering it, because it is true. Your college represents you and who you become, and you don't want to spit in the face of who they helped you become. But at the same time, I think there's a little bit of a line to walk where it's with there being so many different college options, so many different programs. And again, with college being so expensive, it's
today.
Yeah, especially today. How, the thing that I always felt was something that was always going to hold me back, and I learned later that it really didn't, was that I felt, or I was kind of told or led to believe, that in order to make it in any field, I was going to need to apply myself in a college setting. And I think now with some age, I've realized that I really wasn't meant for academia. It's not an environment that I feel that I can be successful in, and I sort of sometimes wish I just didn't go and just did my own thing and was able to make it work that way. But hindsight's 2020. But so how about I'll rephrase the question instead of
no.
Go for it.
I think you phrased it perfectly. No, it's basically, do you need to go to college to be a filmmaker? And I'll just say what I've always told myself. Steven Spielberg didn't get into USC, man.
Yeah.
You know what he did? You know what you did? You know what he did do? He did something that you can't do today, which is that he snuck onto the Universal lot and basically became a editor apprentice and became the youngest director at Universal Television ever. Made his first TV movie when he was 25, made Jaws when he was 26. And that was because he didn't have no film school, and the only film school was the actual experience. And I will openly admit, USC gave me a network. USC gave me a name. It gave me a brand. And I probably would not have the job that I have right now working with a top YouTuber on the content side of things if it wasn't for the fact that I probably popped up on LinkedIn with that school under my name.
Yeah.
Not my experiences, even though those experiences are definitely prove that I'm capable of what I can do on the video editing side, but just the storytelling side of things. There is a prestige with whatever brand you choose to go with. But again, it's like having a hex-clad saute pan. Do you need a hex-clad saute pan to cook food that Gordon Ramsay cooks? No.
No.
It's a tool. Your college degree at the end of the day is always going to be just that. It's going to be a tool that you have in your belt. And it really is not, it's not only just the people who see you with that tool, but it's what you choose to do with it. And what I chose to do with that tool is pretty much let it sit in my drawer while I try to figure things out as a creative for myself. And that's why I am here right now. I think there are plenty of other people out there who did not need to go to film school to get the connections that they had, because either those are connections that were waiting for them after high school, or they just went ahead and jumped into it and they got incredibly lucky. Like, having a college degree does not guarantee the highest version of your successful self. I think that's why people go to college, because it's not just about safety, but if you're going into the arts, it's because you feel like that is the stepping stone to the cream of the crop, when in reality, you just get a front row seat to everything. You are not going on the football field. You got expensive tickets to be a fan on the side. And congratulations, but eventually the game's going to be over. Your 4 quarters, your 4 years of college are going to be up, and you got to go.
That was probably the most fantastic sports analogy I've ever heard for that. As someone who doesn't know anything or knows jack shit about sports, I followed that perfectly, brother. That was badass. That was great.
Thank you, sir.
No, and I appreciate your candid response on that. Like I said, I know it's a tough question for a lot of people that I ask that question to, but I feel like it's an important one for people to at least hear that, hey, there are options out there for you. Just because you don't go to school doesn't mean you shouldn't chase your dream just because you can't afford it or whatever. Like there's 100%. Plenty of resources that you can dive into to help you out.
And if anyone's listening here that is wanting to go into some sort of career in Hollywood and wants to have just like a free opportunity, like I'll tell you right now, go to Barry Katz. He offers a free internship. You get to actually work with him, do video content for his clients. I've worked with everybody right now, from Jay Moore to Craig Shoemaker to Brad Williams, all these old comedians with huge careers in the 90s and 2000s, 2010s. Like, that's what he does. He looks for people, young people who want to have an opportunity to dip their toes in and see what it's like. And you can use that as leverage. Everyone needs a little skin in the game. If you want to see what it's actually like, that's what Hollywood is now. It's YouTube. Congratulations.
Congrats. It's more accessible now than it ever was before.
Exactly.
Hell yeah. So let's get into the story of how you got into YouTube editing and directing. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. How did so LinkedIn, you got a random LinkedIn message? Like, what's the dealio?
Yeah, I got an email at the beginning of January. This guy was just like, hey, I'm a small YouTuber trying to grow my business and expand and add to my team. And I just wanted to see if you would be interested at all in checking out my work and working with me. Super humble guy. I looked at his YouTube channel. He had about 200,000 subscribers at the time. He basically had designed a kind of content that is pretty much Neil deGrasse Tyson meets sports.
Dope.
And all the animation, all the editing style was well within my tool set. So I reached back out to him. I was like, you know what? I'm freaking tired of working for real estate. I'm tired of real estate agents.
I'm tired of taking videos of bathrooms, bruh. I'm done. I'm tapped out.
Yeah. I'm tired of people saying, if you put your mind to it, you can accomplish anything. And if you want to definitely accomplish something, please, sign up for my realtor program where you can learn how to be a real estate agent that does exactly what I'm doing right now.
Oh, God. We've all seen those ads, man. Shit.
Yeah, I probably made them, and I'm so sorry.
Brought to you by Scott.
Yes. Dude, waiting for your pilot to get greenlit it's a pain in the ass.
Yeah, it's a huge limbo. It's a huge limbo game, I'm sure.
Yeah. At a period where, okay, I wanted to actually have like a film job that was using what I knew about storytelling, what I know about graphics and all that. I thought it was perfect. So I reached out. I basically worked on my own, didn't get paid anything for like this trial run for this first video. It took me about a month. And he said, all right, this guy's clearly willing to stay up countless nights to get this shit done and to learn my vibe. He is an extreme perfectionist. And I was willing to work through that. And he's like, okay, let's make it work.
What do you
think you're worth? I did. And I'll tell you this, Xavier, throughout the last 10 years, I had been struggling with my student debt. Like that was always the one thing that was hanging over my head, big, huge chip coming out every single month. And of course, the interest was starting to add up just as I was getting to this point.
Yeah, I have this blood vessel in my forehead that pops every time I talk about student debt. My PTSD is triggered.
Exactly. I kid you not, man. This guy said, as your starting bonus, I will pay off your student loans.
Oh, shit. Sign me up.
And that shit, I was like, holy
dude,
fuck.
That is a huge win. Holy shit.
First time someone's reached out to me on LinkedIn for a job.
Dude, you created your account fucking yesterday, and all of a sudden it's like, yo, brother, right. Do I have a deal for you? I'll pay off your debt. Holy shit. Yes, daddy, sign me up. Fuck.
Exactly. Holy shit. So I said, okay, yeah, I'm in. And I kid you not, my entire life, besides waiting for that, has been working on this damn YouTuber channel.
I mean, I don't blame you. Holy shit, with a deal like that, man. Like, homie looking for
loyalty, lot.
Homie looking for a juggler or some shit. I'll juggle for him whenever he says, dude. I'll do whatever this guy says if he's going to pay my debt off. Damn.
I was like, so
you just got Annied, bro. That guy just daddy Warbucks to you. He was like, yo, follow me to the promised land, baby.
Yeah, I have no hair and he has all his hair still.
Shit. He's like struggling little homie. I got you, bro. Follow me. I'd be like, wherever you want to go, dude. Man. Shit. That's badass. That's a Cinderella story if I've ever heard one.
Seriously, man. And best spots I've ever had. I mean, I've messed up so many times trying to get this formula down, but I've gone from making one of these videos in about a month to making one in like 4 or 5 days. I mean,
that's actually kind of cool though. Like, not only did you get a sweet deal out of it, but he seems like a good, cool dude, man. Like,
he is. And
that's always a plus. That's always a plus.
Yes. There's so much mindless content too. And he's just like, I care about everything. Like, we're making high quality stuff that could be on a TV show because that is my dream. I want to have a TV show. So now, in addition to the pilot, I have this guy who is doing everything with me and this animator to get out, top-notch sports content with the dream of one day ESPN is going to take me on and let me do my own athletic show. And already Tubi has reached out to him and he said, money on Tubi is not really good.
Yeah.
I'm going to hold out a bit more. But that's where we're at. And I can only imagine within a year or two that something's definitely going to happen with that. I'll stick it out. And if something happens with the pilot, then, I got those two options. And that's the brand.
I mean, not only do you have options, but you have two really freaking cool options. It sounds like it seems again for as long as you struggled, trying to make a name for yourself in the field, like it's cool to be at the point where it seems like, hey, yo, you got some real cool stuff cooking, man. Like,
yeah,
dude, that's so freaking cool, dude.
Thanks,
Congrats
man.
on both of those.
Thank you. And honestly, I feel like that's the big lesson of my life right now. Nothing is worth it until it is worth it. And that's kind of what my entire outside of school experience has been like. I graduated in 2015. I had no job. I had no prospects, literally worked from the ground up doing community theater commercials, choreographing for high schools, and just bit by bit. Now, because of the way that the industry works and the way that we digest content and the kind of people that can actually go after it with a certain kind of knowledge, I'm now technically working on 2 shows.
Nice.
And I can support myself, and I have the girl of my dreams next door. So
so winning all around, brother. Fantastic. 360 coming up from the bottom, making shit happen, man. That's freaking cool, dude. Shifting gears over to some tech questions, some tech related questions. Again, for people who have no idea, when it comes to editing, do you have like a preferred software system that you use, and any recommendations of ones that you prefer?
Yeah. So I've used Premiere my whole life. I'm kind of in a love-hate relationship with Premiere right now, because it's pretty much like a Madden game now, where they're just building up on the same interface over and over again, an interface that was built probably, 20 years ago. And the glitches are showing, especially as they're integrating all these new AI tools. I would say that it's the best it's ever been, but there are definitely some headaches here and there. And it's actually starting to become a editing tool that a lot of professionals in the industry use, because most professionals aren't behind the Avid barrier anymore. But if anyone wanted to get started with editing today, didn't have any money, just get DaVinci. DaVinci is free. Anybody can use it. Anyone can learn how to edit with it. And that's actually, I think, the way that a lot of other media companies secretly do it, because if you can hire a whole team of people to get DaVinci Resolve on the other side of the world, like in the Philippines or Indonesia, and have them do all your animation, all your editing for you on a free program, you're not paying for that cloud membership. And I think that's the biggest pain in the butt thing that I have with Premiere, is that it is a cloud subscription.
Got it. Okay. It does seem
you get all the free updates.
Yeah, it seems like Adobe Premiere kind of is the standard, because, we have a guy who helps edit our show. Shout out to Chuck. We love you, Chuck. But he also uses Adobe Premiere also, and it seems like that's kind of, for the most part, pretty much the standard. But having a free option is always nice. Shout out to DaVinci, man. But keep going.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah, I would say, Premiere has been my life, and everyone I work with has always let me use Premiere, and I love working on that. Also, I would say if you want to get even more control over your kind of content, and you should really look into learning how to make super unique animation, you should actually learn how to work with Photoshop first. Okay. Creating your own assets and actually learning how to animate that manually in Premiere before you get to After Effects and all that stuff. I feel like that's a big thing for me too.
Nice. All right. So we talked a little bit about your YouTube experience. Was there anything you learned from the type of film you were doing before, like with the commercials, to transitioning over to YouTube, that you had to teach yourself how to do? Was there a huge difference between the two mediums as far as, directing goes, or was it pretty, you had enough skill set to be able to kind of jump between both, no problem?
I think on the technical side, absolutely. I think on the pacing side, it's a whole other kind of beast. YouTube is definitely very fast paced. It kind of feels like a long commercial sometimes watching certain people's videos, because the mindset behind every YouTuber is, I don't want someone to click away. I want them to constantly be engaged. I had to have some sort of shiny thing to get my crow to keep coming over to me.
Got it. On my screen. The minute you grasp their attention, the minute you lose their attention is the minute they click on something else. So you're really just trying to fight for their attention.
Precisely. And some people get that. I think Michael definitely gets it, that it isn't about creating things that distract people. It's creating things that enhance the product. It actually is about the quality of the information that you're giving and how you're subtly continuing to pull people along and watching your project. I think when you're watching a movie, it's completely the opposite. You've already paid to watch it. You paid for an experience, for a tone, for an image. It could be super high action, engaging, like a Mad Max movie, or it can be super slow pace, like name me a Hollywood drama that's come out in the last 6 years. They're all slow. Just taking your time, enjoying where you're at or not. But YouTube, the people that succeed the most in that platform are the ones who are like, okay, everything has to be locked down and every single freaking moment needs to have its purpose. You can deviate a little bit away from that, but you know, the one thing that the cheapest YouTubers have in common with the most expensive ones is they know that every single part needs to have purpose. And that's why I had to learn with YouTube. Commercial, you already know what's the purpose. Here's the information. I made it look pretty. Goodbye.
How to make it as clear as possible. Boom.
Yeah. Doing that for 20 minutes, it's a whole different skill. That's what I've had to learn.
So from the tech side, how was the tech different?
Honestly, like I've had to learn a lot more about, I would say it's the sound side of things. Like I never had to really take that for granted because usually it's like there's a voiceover provided to me by some sort of voice actor I'll never ever meet from Fiverr or wherever, and then some music track, and that's it.
Yeah. So now you were kind of in the weeds with it a little bit.
Yeah, I had to buy a new subscription to like Artlist. I had to learn how to mix around with music stems, make certain things louder, certain things quieter. And that's honestly like the secret sauce to any YouTube video is that if you really want to make people watch your content, it's not only the music, but being able to manipulate certain aspects of the music to where you can actually feel like you're watching something unique. So like something that we always do is whenever we show data and graphs, super exciting stuff. You ever saw a chart in high school, you're like, yes, right?
Yeah, no. Everything's going up.
Finally. Yes, that's exponential. Basically what I learned to do is we always use jazz music for showing math because it's like we had to keep you engaged, had to make you feel like you're having a good time.
We're making math jazzy, dude.
Exactly. But if you can't get a copyrighted track, and if you try to use every single jazz track that you find on some of these platforms, it's like, it's the full band. It's hardly ever, something as simple as a Peanuts soundtrack where it's just like the piano, your bass, and something on your cymbal. So I had to learn how to isolate that. And basically it was like, okay, half our music is usually bass, percussion, and sometimes piano. And because, you're only hearing those parts and nothing that goes along with it, you're like, this seems oddly dissonant, like there should be a melody here. And I have to keep listening to this to keep myself engaged. It's really weird. It's like listening to, I don't know, the Hamilton soundtrack, but it's just the piano and the drums. You're like,
it's a weird way to experience it. It's a weird way to experience it. Yeah.
But because everything has such a purpose and an emphasis for something that's not there, you're like, okay, the emphasis is on the chart. That's on what he's talking about. I'm engaged with what he's talking about now. And when I learned that, I was like, oh my God, you're literally removing the intention of an abstract art form, which is the melody, and you're making everything underneath it basically support this new melody, which is just you talking about data and shit. That's genius. So that was the biggest thing I learned: sound and music.
Hey, it all comes down to sound and music, man, or the sound of music. Mm-hmm. So going into the pilot, so scaling back, talking about, when, it came time to start pitching this pilot, what was your role in the pitching process, if any?
Yeah, so thankfully we're now at a place where we actually have a top agent who's pitching the pilot for us now. Dan is signed up with Paradigm.
Oh, cool.
Which is one of the top 6 agencies. And usually if you're top 6, you're like, people are actually picking up the phone when you call.
People are actually like, oh, maybe I'll pick this up. Maybe I'll give you a listen.
Exactly. It's the same agency that Sydney Sweeney's signed to.
Oh, cool.
So it's a pretty big deal. But before that, like, it was pretty much Dan reaching out to people via secret email.
He's channeling the dark web. Like, who can I pitch this to?
100%. Like, he asked, Barry Katz was initially the guy who was reaching out to people. And what would happen is that Barry would typically get like a response that was either just a no or a we'll get back to you. And then Barry would be like, okay, I can't deal with this right now. I have to figure out what Jay Moore's doing. And Dan will get like, the email forwarded from Barry, and he'll be like, so that's the email of the person that Barry reached out to.
Weird.
I'm going to follow up because I'm just going to go ahead and be the face of my show. Imagine that, because I'm the showmaster. I'm the showrunner. So that's pretty much what happened. He would just be reaching out to people by himself all the time. I, on the other hand, basically got to get every text and call from Barry and Dan saying, hey, it's who we're talking to now.
Pretty much just the updates.
Exactly. I mean, we finished this thing in 2024, and we were just waiting for the longest time just for things to chill down after what was happening with the strikes and the integration of AI, and probably just the general fallout of the pandemic, which unfortunately kind of just continues to drag on.
Sure. It's one of those things where it's like we're done with it, but we're not really done with it.
We're not done with it. Exactly.
Yeah, we're still definitely feeling the aftermath effects of that time for sure.
Yeah. I would say that if you wanted to learn how to make your product the best pitchable product possible, you still need to follow Find Concept, which I learned at USC. There's a point. Find Concept is basically 3 things. Number 1, you need to be able to say what your product is, like the actual plot, in 25 words or less. So like Jaws is a giant monster attacks a local beach community, and this broken father has to learn how to face his fears and defeat the shark once and for all.
Boom.
Like, 25 words. And the shark itself, you can feel as a manifestation of his fear of fatherhood. Like, Spielberg eventually figured that out, and he was like, oh, I didn't know that. Thank you.
He's like, that was totally why I wrote it.
Oh, dude. One of my favorite actor studio sections is where he's hanging out. They're talking about Close Encounters, and the host says, your father was a scientist and your mother was a musician. When the aliens reach out to the humans, how do they make contact? He's like, wow, I don't know, but now I do. Like, that never ever crossed my mind. This movie's about my parents. Holy crap.
Dude, the parallels
so cool.
people draw, man. It's cool. It's really cool.
Out of nowhere. Seriously. But yeah, so Find Concept, 25 words or less. Number 2, you have to be able to visualize it instantly. Like, when you think of Jaws, what's the first thing you think of?
Ocean and shark. Yeah, I think exactly. I think the girl swimming, shark underneath, the whole vibe.
Yeah, that's it. Boom, instantly. Star Wars, lightsabers, Darth Vader helmets, space action.
Yeah, dark, but like flashes of lights everywhere, like a dark space, lights everywhere, cool backdrops, the collage look. Yeah,
exactly. And then the third thing is probably the most important thing that is probably both kept movies from dying and also ruined movies forever: merchandising. You have to be able to turn into a t-shirt. Got to be able to turn into a cup.
It's all about the merch.
$5 cups here.
Yeah, it's all about the merch, man. Bands, art, like music, podcast, film. It's all about the merch, man.
So I would say, like, if you're trying to make your project pitchable, that's the best option. I didn't have a huge hand in pitching the pilot, but I think we did a really good job of making sure that everything in the project looked like that, just from start to finish. Dan's been selling merch this whole time for it. Like, we have these Lenny Super Mega Autoplex keychains.
Oh, cool. Hey.
For our podcast listeners, I'm showing this on my video scope.
And you that's recently made some traction, right? Your pilots?
Yeah. So we've been pitching through Paradigm to a few different studios. I can't say yes. I can't say who said yes and who said no, but
hush.
The agent It's just the way it works, unfortunately. But the agent that we're working with is really determined, and it sounds like he's going to keep going until we get our yes. And thankfully, the studios, they all want stuff right now, so we'll see what happens.
And honestly, that's the person you want advocating for you, man. The one who's unapologetic and who's just going to put themselves out there and is like, nah, we're getting something. We're getting something.
Exactly. And that's really who you need, is somebody who is super hungry. And, an agent only gets 10% of whatever you make. So
not a lot, honestly, especially when it comes to like some revenue of some of these like TV shows and films and stuff. Like 10% ain't much.
That's the motivation to work. No, it really isn't. But if it's a super hit, that really does take
that 10% all of a sudden makes a huge difference.
It's like being a realtor.
No, seriously though. Do you know what that? So in the instance that it does get picked up, do you know what's next for as far as, or does it really just depend on who picks it up and what that process looks like?
So, there's 3 different outcomes that I see. Number 1 is the best case scenario, which is that we get greenlit, we get to pick who works on it, we're creating it, we're in control of it, and we actually get to make our full season or a movie version if that's what they want to do instead. Second option is they pick it up, but they're going to do their production in-house, where they get to pick everybody who's involved with it. They get to make changes to the story. Dan is still the creative head of it, the face of it, but ultimately it is a studio project, and the original crew is pretty much out of it.
Damn.
And then there's the third option, which is probably the easiest to happen, but only if Dan says yes, which is that the concept gets bought and it gets stuck in limbo with a bunch of other ideas.
So essentially we want the option where it keeps the creative team involved. That's what we want. That's what we're rooting for.
Well, precisely. And again, that third option is pretty much how a lot of B movies and a lot of cheap Netflix movies used to get made. Like, how much of a horror fan are you?
I'd say decently so. More so since we had Mario on the podcast last. He was our last guest. We did a Halloween episode where he talked in depth about a lot of horror films. So I can't say I'm like super well versed, but like I know the hits. I know a handful.
Okay, so you know what Blair Witch Project is?
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
Have you ever heard of Blair Witch 2?
I have heard of it. Never watched it.
Okay, late 90s movie. If you ever watched that movie, you would swear that they just had another screenplay and put the title Blair Witch 2 on it. And I have heard
something like this about the second Blair Witch Project.
Exactly. That's pretty much probably what happened.
Ugh. Oh, that sucks.
Yeah, and they do that to a lot of different movies and a lot of different projects. And here's the thing, you can never completely know for sure. And sometimes you'll even have cases where a director makes a movie that they can't even make, and they have to attach certain people to it and give them the writer's credit or the director's credit so that they can actually make the project and get something out of it.
That seems so like manipulative a little bit. Like that seems fucked up.
There absolutely. And there are definitely some movies that have come out in the last 4 or 5 years where you'll see secondary writers who don't seem qualified to make the movie that they're talking about. And you will go, oh, it is very likely through the regular Hollywood industry ins and outs that they actually created this project, but they're attaching themselves to this talent so that project can get made. Just keep an eye out for who's a secondary or third writer on some of these projects that come out, especially the ones that are very politically driven. It's really, really interesting.
That is interesting. I'll have to look out for that. It's something I've never really paid deep attention to. I really knew the ins and outs of, but that's interesting. I'll have to keep tabs on that. But we are about time. But before we do, Scott, first off, I want to thank you for jumping on the podcast, man. It was super great to hear your story in depth. Obviously, like I said, I've known you, or like I'm going to tell the listeners again, I've known you for a long time, but it's always nice to kind of hear the story linearly like this versus every time I see you, you get a little bit more of it. You know what I mean? I definitely consider you someone in my life that I've been very inspired by in terms of like his drive towards his artistic passions and things.
Shucks.
And I mean that, like, it's to persevere in the arts is hard. There's so many days where you want to call it quits or you want to throw in the towel or be like, is this worth it? But I think for those people who really do feel that level of passion and that level of care and intrigue into the field, like to have the opportunity to fight for it as long as you have, and to finally see some of that start to pay off, both financially, artistically, and all the above, man. Like, it really is freaking inspiring. So mad props on the success. Thanks, man. Bro. Mad props. And honestly, I'm hopeful for more success down the line too. But shameless plug time. Definitely pitch the YouTube channel again. Pitch the show. Obviously, we know you can't tell us who picked it up, but tell our listeners what to be on the lookout for. Crossing our fingers.
Absolutely. So the title of the pilot is "It's a Lot." It stars Rick Springfield and Dean Edwards from SNL. You're probably going to, if anything comes out of this, you'll probably see it sometime in the next year or so. We'll know for sure what network it'll be on by then, if it goes with that beautiful option where it actually goes into production and we're a part of it. So we'll see. If you'd like to see any of my work right now as an editor, you can go check out the Michael McKelvey Sports channel on YouTube. Our next video is going to be about Victor Wembanyama. A lot of people have talked about how he's probably going to be the ceiling of the NBA and probably one of the all-time greats. And we actually break that down statistically and talk about why he actually stands out, not only as an offensive game changer, but probably the defensive GOAT of the NBA all time. And it's only been a few games into the season. We break that down. Come check it out.
Hell yeah. Shout out to all of our basketball lovers listening. And then if anybody had any questions about you, Scott, or like about you, or to reach out to you with more questions about the field, how would anybody reach out to you or connect with you?
Yeah, absolutely. You can reach out to me. My website is scottbreitbarth.com. I got a little form section you can contact me at, and I usually respond pretty well to people that are not trying to expand my website traffic. So,
and then spell the website. Spell the website for us.
Yeah, Scott SCOTTBREITBARTH.com.
Awesome. So definitely hit up our boy. Like I said, I've known Scott for a long time. He's a great guy. Really cool things happening down the pipeline. But as always, listeners, this was Out of the Rut. If you want to submit your own Out of the Rut stories that we talk about, we have our own subreddit, Out of the Rut Podcast. Also, you can always hit us up on Instagram or Facebook. Shout out to Caitlin. Also, just say hi to Caitlin. She gets lonely on the socials every now and then. So if you like, comment, or shoot her a message, she'll be sure to let Ron, myself, or Billy know. But on that note, y'all, have a fantastic Tuesday. Hopefully y'all have a great week. Stay lit. Never quit. We'll see you next time.